Once upon a time, there was a king who ruled a kingdom. He worked day and night for his people. But in doing so, he forgot someone very close. His only son, Prince George. The Queen, Elizabeth, had passed away giving birth to George. Since then, the prince was raised by royal maids. The king buried his grief in work and never gave George much attention. George was now 12. He often sat alone in the royal garden, holding a small locket with his mother's picture. He often stared at the sky and whispered to himself,
"If Mama were here, maybe I wouldn't feel so alone. Maybe Father would talk to me. Maybe I would even have brothers. Or sisters."
One day, a man named Anthony arrived at the royal palace with his son Jack. He was hired as one of the palace gardeners. They moved into a small servant quarter near the garden. Anthony was very clever. Just someone who always thought 2 steps ahead. The next evening, Prince George sat quietly in the garden. He spotted a boy his age playing alone near the trees. He walked over and said,
"Hey, will you play with me?"
Jack froze. He had never spoken to a prince before. Words didn't come out. Nearby, the head gardener and a few royal servants saw the prince with Jack. Their eyes widened. They rushed forward, worried. Head gardener said nervously,
"Prince, if the king hears about this, he might be angry."
Prince George's face turned red. He yelled,
"I don't care! I want to play!"
Just then, Anthony arrived, breathless. Anthony bowed and said,
"Forgive us, Your Highness. If the king finds out, he will be angry with me and my son."
Prince George looked at him calmly.
"Don't worry. The king won't say anything, right?"
Anthony nodded. The prince smiled at Jack. Both boys started playing, laughing, running across the grass. The servants stood back, watching in silence. Anthony smirked cunningly.
"This friendship will be useful to me."
That evening, the head servant walked into the royal chamber. The king sat at his desk, reading important papers. The head servant bowed.
"Your Majesty, I have something to tell."
The king looked up.
"What is it?"
The servant hesitated, then spoke.
"Prince George has made a friend. The new gardener's son."
The king stayed silent for a moment. Then, he said,
"It's fine."
The head servant nodded in surprise and left. From that day on, the royal servants had to serve juices. fruits and more not only to the prince, but also to Jack. One morning, Jack sat quietly on a bench. Prince George noticed.
Why do you look sad?
Jack sighed.
My father's pay is small. He can't even buy me new clothes.
The prince nodded.
Don't worry. I will do something.
That evening, Prince George walked into the royal chamber.
Dad, please raise Jack's father's pay. At least like the head gardener.
The king was surprised, but nodded. The prince smiled and walked out. Next month, Anthony opened his pay pouch. He had been paid like the head chef. A big smile spread across his face. The prince's demands kept growing for Jack. The king worried, but he still said nothing. One evening, Jack said,
I wish my father had land to grow crops. But it's just a dream.
The prince placed his hand on Jack's shoulder.
I will give you land.
That night, during dinner, the prince said,
Dad, I want Jack's father to have a huge land.
The king frowned.
No. It's not possible.
The prince looked at his plate, then angrily pushed it aside. He stood up.
Why?
The king calmly replied,
He is just a gardener. How can I give him land?
The prince stomped his foot.
It's my wish. That's it.
The king nodded.
Okay.
The prince then happily went to his room. The king sat in silence. The next morning, the prince told Jack,
You will get the land document soon.
Jack and his father were overjoyed. That evening, the king called the minister.
The prince has become close to the gardener's son. I fear the servant is using him. The prince already asked to raise his salary, equal to the head gardener's. Then came gifts. And now he wants him to get land.
The minister nodded calmly.
Leave it to me, Your Majesty. I will take care of it.
The king nodded slowly.
Good. I don't want trouble in the palace.
The next day, the prince and Jack were playing in the garden. When the minister came, he bowed.
Your Highness, I know a game you will enjoy.
The prince asked excitedly.
Soon. What game?
The minister replied,
It's hide and seek. But the one who loses becomes a horse. And the winner gets to ride.
The prince laughed.
Let's play.
They began the game. Soon, the prince lost. Jack cheered.
Now you will be the horse.
The prince's face turned red.
How dare you say that to me?
He turned sharply.
Minister! Put
Put Jack and his father in prison.
Then he left inside angrily. Jack was still frozen in fear. Just then, Anthony came running.
Please! Sir! Save us!
The minister spoke firmly.
Take your son and leave the palace now. I will take care of everything. Your things will be sent to your village.
Anthony and Jack rushed toward the royal gate. The minister watched them go, then smiled.
Now all is set.